woman out the house and into the black household to turn the black woman against the black man. To scapegoat us for problems caused for her by white supremacy.
So, obviously, a big thing, obviously, we spoke about the gender wars, earlier. Obviously, there's a lot of conversation nowadays about, the value of what a woman brings and the value of what a man brings in a relationship. And now there's a lot more rhetoric from our women that we hear is, I'm strong, independent, I don't need no man, right? So,
that's pain speaking, though.
Right.
Because most black women know they will never get a man. A black woman can have sex whenever she wants.
Right.
Because she's beautiful. She can have a bed mate, but to have a soul mate, she may never get. I have 2 daughters, 11 and 20, right? My oldest will be 21 this week. Statistically, right? There's a strong chance my daughter could be one of those. I hope she's not. She could be one of those who never get a husband because only 1 out of 4 gets a husband. You see that? So when a black woman says, I don't need a man, that is a reaction to the reality that I may not get a man.
So why not preach? Because I understood, you're obviously against interracial relations when it comes to black men with with white women.
With all women. You should only be with the black woman.
And you will say, well, if you can't find a good woman in America, there's
somewhere else.
In
Absolutely.
Africa. So why not teach that same rhetoric to our women? Like, if you feel
I
like
tell sisters all the time, go to Africa.
So
I know sisters who marry. I just spoke with a sister. She invited me to the wedding. She just married a brother from the continent.
So, but instead of saying they will never get married,
I'll take sisters to Africa who married brothers they met in Africa.
Right.
So yeah,
I think there's obviously plenty of black men,
yes,
black women. So
and what I also tell black women, if you're going to go get you an African man from the continent,
right,
you're going to have to understand that the way in which you talk to black men in America will not be tolerated over there.
Why the fuck is it's not tolerated here? That's what we're trying to tell them.
Well, over here, I want to say this to us, though. Because we try to act like the way sisters treat us doesn't have a history that we are not at least partly responsible for. Let's be honest. The black woman has had to hold down the black house by herself, although imperfectly. She's had to do it by herself since the mass incarceration of black males began in the 1970s. So what I'm saying is, black men, we got to be patient with our women because we created that personality. We created that, and then we want to act like we didn't play a role.
We have to be held accountable for their poor selection.
No, you have to be held accountable. No, you have to be held accountable because they have a poor selection. See, what you're saying, you're selecting a poor mate. And what I'm saying is they don't have much to select one, so of course she's going to end up with a poor mate. And why is she going to end up with a poor mate? Because we as black men are not raising black boys to be the men that our women need. We are not. They
accomplish and get to that level you want to get to as a man. Got a liability for a bitch. A lot of y'all females, you lock in and have babies from niggas that's a liability. Then a lot of y'all, you just be lying to yourself. You tell yourself somebody was a liability to you, but really, your life looked the same as it always looked based on your same bum-ass choices. It be so many of y'all I done connected with through y'all trying to get y'allself together, and I respect it, but y'all got y'allself believing that somehow dealing with this particular person made my life go down. But before you met your baby daddy and you had the kids you ain't had no real money, no real foundation under you, no real success in life. After you met that nigga, yeah, you went through some fucked up shit, but if you look at your life now, it really ain't no different than what it was before. It feel harder because there are now children involved, but before you had the kids, you wasn't doing no real self-development or getting yourself together or advancing your life or pouring into you or working like a motherfucker. There are some people that's their testimony, but bitch, for a lot of y'all, it's not yours. A lot of y'all niggas in the same boat. Before you got connected with that girl and had all them kids, nigga, you wasn't doing nothing big. You wasn't doing that. We look at your life before then. You wasn't reaching no high levels of success. You wasn't pouring into yourself like that. You wasn't on no shit where you lost a whole bunch. But y'all will tell yourself it's somebody else's fault. No, this shit consistent with you. What you getting out of life is consistent with where your brain been at this whole time. Whether you fuck with a bitch or two or not. And you just gotta be real with yourself. That's what this shit about, being honest about what the fuck you do, not just going along with some sort of narrative and need to wake the fuck up. Bitch, you gonna get out of life based on what you work to get. A lot of y'all don't realize the reason why you be up then down, up because your intentions don't be pure. A lot of that shit have to do with your intentions. You got to go inward and search for what's really going on. Everything I'm talking about has to do with looking inward, not outward, looking inward. A lot of decisions and shit a bitch be done did, that shit don't be organic and pure. Like that live I did that one day, and I respect the fact that the majority of the women on there was honest. But most bitches have kids nowadays out of some sort of spiteful agenda. And then you wonder why your parenting journey be hard and a struggle and emotionally damaging. You never went in that shit with a pure heart. You got pregnant from a nigga that the relationship wasn't what you was telling yourself it was, had the baby out of spite or some old weird shit, and went forward with these lies to the point where you convinced yourself you some sort of victim, and you wonder why you catching hell. You catching just what the fuck you put out. And yes, it's very spiritual, it's very emotional, it's very mental. Y'all don't realize that a lot of y'all struggle come from y'all intentions. When I talk about the spiritual part, y'all love to say God or Yahweh or Allah or Buddha or somebody is the reason why you going through this. He give his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. Listen, that's some shit to tell yourself to cope with the fact that you facing the consequences of your motherfucking choices. Like it ain't rocket science. When you breed and have a child out of unpure intentions, out of the intent to take somebody else the fuck down. You know how they say the grave you dig or the hole you dig for somebody else, you will find yourself in that bitch. It's a lot of y'all bitches. You found yourself in that bitch. You had the baby with the every intent to break a nigga up with some other bitch they was dealing with or bring a nigga down. And that shit was just a decision that brought you to your motherfucking knees. Postpartum, eating your ass the fuck up. Them struggles and that shit going on that you got to provide for them jits, and you realize nobody don't give a fuck because we got our own problems. And then some of y'all, you get the child support money, you realize that shit ain't shit. $200-$300, $300-$400 in life takes so much more when you got multiple children. Y'all ate your own selves up with that shit.
Vendetta is here. The first video is from a Dr. Umar Johnson. Although I agree with some of his points, I also believe that he panders heavily towards women. In those aspects, he doesn't make any sense. Dr. Umar tends to toggle back and forth from relationships to serving your community as if they are one and the same. No one should force themselves to be in an unproductive relationship in order to solely uplift your community. Love Dorsey, on the other hand, for those who aren't aware of her, she is a well-known speaker and who is more even balanced when pointing out accountability towards men and women. I apologize for the intense profanity that she uses, but it doesn't take away from her message. Personally, I would have to side more towards Love Dorsey because I'm a stickler for logic. I'm interested in hearing you guys' opinions about both speakers. Please leave your comments in the comments section. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. God bless you and stay safe.